ASUU Chairperson of the University of UNIUYO, and he's here in our studio to talk about a lot of lingering issues that has caused a whole lot of controversies between students, parents, who are actually confused, not knowing what is actually happening. Welcome to UFM. My name is Jimmy Jackson, and this is a special interview with the ASUU Chairperson of the University of UNIUYO, Akwa Ibom State, Nigeria. The ASUU Chairperson is Dr. Happiness Nduk. She is currently the ASUU Chairman of the University of UNIUYO from the Department of English Language. She's here to throw more light on the ongoing strike issue with government and effort made by the association to cushion the effects of COVID-19 pandemic on members and students of the University of UNIUYO. You can join the conversation on Facebook. You can watch us live, drop your comment there. And you can also call the studio lines on the following numbers: 0818-883-6262 or 070-1007. All right, good morning, Ma, and welcome to your 100.7 FM.
Thank you very much, Jimmy, and good morning, audience.
Okay. All right, Ma, let's start with ASUU and the genesis of the struggle between ASUU and the federal government, because it seems parents, students are really confused whenever ASUU is mentioned with a strike.
Well, the ASUU federal government saga didn't start today. It's been a long while. And one would have thought that maybe government should have been sincere to meet its demands, but government has been very insincere and very inhumane. The last time we had a strike was last year, and then that was February, and then we had some memorandum of action. They decided to change the nomenclature from memorandum of understanding, because ASUU has been understanding for a very long time. So the nomenclature was changed to memorandum of action, and surprisingly too, federal government has not done its part of the action. The union suspended the strike, but the federal government has not done much that it promised to do, and that's why we've had lingering industrial action over the years between the federal government and us.
Okay, all right. I'm still staying with that. Prior to 2009 agreement, it took federal government and ASUU 2 years to reach that agreement in 2009. And why did it take long for the agreement to be reached?
Well, normally, it's usually not easy where it has to do with parting with money. And then it's not everything you actually go to the table with that you come back with the other party acceding and agreeing to do, them. So it usually would take a long while to agree, but it has taken much more longer to even make good the agreement. Because normally we're supposed to renegotiate after every 3 years. Here we are, 2020. We haven't renegotiated after 2009. That's pretty long. So normally it's an arduous process, and it has to also be thorough, and both parties have to agree before those things are penned down, and finally copies are given to the sides. So that's why normally it takes a while to do that. But like I said in my opening statements, government is insincere.
Okay, but because we need to really get to the root of the ASUU strike, so that our listeners will get to understand the position of ASUU, because it seems like there's a whole lot of misconception when it has to do with what ASUU is actually demanding for. But in 2009, the agreement reached with governments that from there, they had conditions of service for lecturers, funding of universities, university autonomy, and academic freedom at least 26% of Nigerian annual budget should be allocated to education, and half of that allocation to the universities. More than a decade now, which of these agreements, that is 2009 agreements, have been fulfilled by the government?
None that has been fulfilled completely by the government. I remember that in February this year, ASUU told Mr. President that state of emergency be declared on the education sector totally, and then 5 years commitment to be made to it to see if we can get out of the quagmire that we're in. but government has still not done it. Like I said earlier, most of the things on that agreement have not been met. Well, we may say autonomy, yes, but still being threatened. For instance, the IPPIS that was introduced is a threat to that autonomy. We have councils in universities, and councils are versed with the authority to run universities day to day. They employ, they sanction, they can sack or dismiss, and then money wise as well. They're supposed to, be responsible for that. But with this IPPIS that the government has brought, it erodes that completely. University system is not like the normal civil service. We have our peculiarities, and that's why the union, initially our sister unions thought there was something in there that we were afraid of. That's why
the IPPIS?
Yes, that's why we kicked against migrating onto it. And sometime in December, when they came here to register people, they ran and did that. But when February salaries came, there was outcry everywhere because of the increase in tax, the forceful migration onto the National Housing Fund, and several other deductions. So with IPPIS, that's a threat to university autonomy. And also concerning the 26% to education, it still hasn't happened up till now.
Okay.
And even the salary structure we actually have was the second table. The table one is still what we are on the negotiating, asking that we be on the table to talk about.
Okay. All right, Ma. We'll actually really look at the IPPIs, but let's still get people to understand about what ASUU is actually demanding for and what they're actually asking for. But before you do that, you can join the conversation. This is UNIUYO 100.7 FM, and we are playing host to the ASUU Chairperson of the University of UNIUYO in the person of Dr. Happiness Duke. She has been talking about the struggle between ASUU and government. We're opening our phone lines for you to call. The studio lines are 818-883-6262 or 0701070107. You can also drop your comments on Facebook. We are live on UNIUYO 100.7 FM. Please click and like the page. All right, Doctor. 2019 Academic Staff Union of Universities had renegotiated with government, insisting that the federal government honor the 2009 agreement, asking for 1.1 trillion revitalization of universities, which the government promised to process the report of the Interministerial Committee on Sustainable Resources of Funding. Don't you think that paucity of funds is one of the reasons that governments can't meet these demands?
Well, I don't think that is because of paucity of funds. I'd like to correct the impression actually. That 1.1 trillion was not last year, it was in 2030.
Okay.
It was a fallout of the report, needs assessment that was done. When ASUU did its own and cried out to the government sent teams, and the teams paint a gloomier picture than what ASUU painted in terms of hostels, in terms of libraries, in terms of lecture halls and facilities. So the agreement was that 1.3 trillion should be put into tertiary education for a period of 5 years. Actually, if government had done that, it wouldn't have amounted to 1.1 trillion. They only did 200 billion. And the 200 billion, you've got some huge amount.
200 billion?
Yes,
okay.
That's why to share to all
universities.
The universities that we have. You've got some percentage, and that's why we have some infrastructures, being built. Imagine if it came every year for the 5 years, where we would have been now. This COVID coming in now, and the fact that we can't reopen universities because we cannot meet NCDC guidelines, is just to show Nigerians the nakedness of tertiary education and where we are. If government had put in that money, we wouldn't have, at least we would have been talking about some other things now, not facilities.
Oh, all right, but
so that money was supposed to have come within 5 years.
Within 5 years.
It was agreed that it be spread, and it was during Jonathan's administration we got only one tranche. After that, nothing has come up. That's why it's now 1.1 trillion and just 200 billion was done. To talk about paucity of funds, I've said it. If they were sincere and were doing it in bits, it won't,
Amount to
be
this.
amount to this. And more so, government was able to bring out so much money. I can't quote figures right now
Okay.
into the health sector.
Mm.
Where did that money come from?
Mm.
Because they've seen a need there, but they are yet to see a need in tertiary institutions. Maybe largely because their children don't school in public universities, they school in private universities or outside the country. Okay, asking that universities be reopened without them sending officials, maybe of Federal Minister of Education or National Universities Commission, to come and check, like they did in the aviation industries that concerned them and their awards. They sent people to check where they couldn't fix things. They gave them bailout. So government is not sincere. Forget about paucity of funds. We agree that there's economic crunch and depression and all of that. But if government is willing, she'll be able to at least meet the minimum requirement.
Okay. All right. This is still UNIUYO 100.7. You can join the conversation with 1-888-362-070-107. We have the chairperson of Academic Staff Union University talking about Dr. Happiness Uduk right here in the house. Let's still stay with, the budget of Nigeria. And the first agreement in 2009, you people had requested 26% of the annual budget should be budgeted for education. But it seems like we have seen budget passed every year in outs, and it seems like ASUU have not been raising concerns to at least draw the attention of Nigerians that each year we keep passing budgets and more money have not been budgeted for the education sector.
ASU has been shouting.
Mm.
The fact is that Nigerians, we are just some persons who are very passive.
Mm.
We're very passive. Sometimes, unless it concerns us directly, that's when we move. And at other times, when we've already had a mindset, ASU is the enemy of all parents.
Okay.
ASU is the enemy of all students. But the bottom line is that we're actually fighting more for students than for our welfare. We're not like other associations or unions. You see, if you check the list of the requirements or the demands we're making, one is revitalization of infrastructure.
Okay.
It's not as if it has to do with us, but that our students should have convenient places to stay, whether they are hostels or classrooms or lectures, and the environment should be conducive and, should meet best standards, so ASU has shouted, before we even embark on any strike, we exhaust all other options. Strikes are usually
the last result.
The last result. Where we've talked, we lobby, we persuade, we talk to those who have people in authority, we write to them. Sometimes you write and write and write and no response. And when you embark on a strike, everybody shouts and asks whether strike is the only option that we have. It's usually the last option.
Okay. All right, Dr. Let's talk about the academic activities in the 2019 agreement. The IPPS platform with ASU giving UTAS as alternative. Let's look at IPPS and the UTAS ASU presented to the federal government. We first heard that IPPIS, the federal government offered IPPIS to ASU, and ASU rejected it and now offered UTAS. But the federal government later on said that when they asked ASU to present the platform, ASU said the platform was not ready. How true is this?
Well, to put the record straight, IPPIS is not a new thing. It's beyond since the 1990s.
Okay.
In 2013, the federal government brought it up and we kicked against it. Like I said earlier on, the university is peculiar, and in all climes, universities are treated differently. When you get to the professorial cadre, your papers are supposed to be sent outside. Normally, it will take a while to come back, and you don't get promoted when you should be promoted. That's why we usually have promotion arrears coming. Assuming I'm due, for instance, in 2020, and my papers are sent out to 3 assessors, they may not come back until maybe after a year or sometimes 2 years. And when they return, my promotion has to be backdated to 2020 when I should have had it. And when that happens, and it's usually by no fault of yours. So if it happens like that, It therefore means that the university will take responsibility for the payment by university, I mean government,
Okay, yeah.
for the backlog,
Mm,
and IPPIS does not recognize that.
mm,
As an academic, if from when you have your PhD
mm.
or you become a senior lecturer, every 7 years you're supposed to go on what we call sabbatical.
Okay.
IPPIS does not recognize that.
Mm.
And these and many more reasons are why we kicked against it. For instance, when deductions were made, the tax that was made on consolidated, not on basic,
Oh,
because the IPPIS is situated in the US, so you can't input anything there.
mm.
Meanwhile, we have
But there are
various.
still people managing it.
Yes, they are, but you can't input anything until the host,
In
the
the
mother
US.
host in the US allows it or something.
Mm.
Meanwhile, we have in our various universities, departments of computer science and computer engineering,
Mm.
who can build a platform that can be used for payment. We asked the federal government in 2013
Mm.
to build an alternative. They said no.
Mm.
Not until March or so that we were given February that we were asked to go ahead and do that. And
So federal government asks you people to build the UTS.
yes, because you can't build something like that
Mm.
and you don't have people who will use it. You
Mm.
need to get patency for
Mm.
it. If you don't have it, costs a huge amount of money to do so. So when
Okay.
they gave us the go ahead to do so, we told them we needed 18 months.
18
But
months.
but it's ready and
Mm.
we have presented it. So I don't think it being ready earlier
Mm.
should be used against us.
Mm.
It actually should be a plus rather than a minus.
Okay, so with the UTA as a platform, you think all the issues you've raised, talking about the academic activities of lecturers, that has been captured, and do you think there will be no issues? Because IPIS, a lot of people are shouting, crying that it does not capture this, as you rightly said. You think the UTS have captured all of this?
Yes, ASUU is welfarist in nature.
Mm.
I'll shock you by saying that UTAS, which we call UTAS, that's the University Transparency Accountability
Okay.
Solution,
Yeah.
takes care of both teaching and non-teaching staff of universities. And it even goes beyond that to take care of staff of polytechnics and colleges of education.
Mm.
So ASUU doesn't think about its members only. It thinks outside the box. And in doing so, it has taken care of both the personnel and the payroll, which is the synergy that was lacking in IPPIS.
Okay.
IPPIS could talk about payroll, but personnel, there was a disconnect.
Okay.
Up till now, IPPIS can make payment and you ask buzzers and they tell you they don't know what's happening. So there's that disconnect, which UTAS is going to take care of.
Okay. All right. ASUU went on an indefinite strike before the COVID-19 pandemic. How are ASUU members faring during this pandemic?
Well, like every other person in the world, our members are not living in space. We live here on Earth too. So we've been hard hit. But ASUU did help state government. Every state where you have a university, whether federal or state, what we were told by our national officers was that we needed to assist our state government.
Okay.
We made hand sanitizers, we made nose masks, we made IEC materials, which we translated into Pidgin and Ibibio, and took to our state governor through the Commissioner for Health.
Okay.
And that was Dr. Upong, I think. And it was replicated in every branch of our union. So we had to do that. And also our members who were not paid, who weren't paid salaries for a very long time. We were not paid February until May. And then we were paid what we call allowances because they didn't match up with the salaries.
So you people pull this from your basic salaries to help fight?
We did that from the purse of the union.
Okay.
Branches, that's what we did. Our members are really suffering because for 2 months, this is the third month we're into. Since July, we still haven't been paid. We do some refundable palliatives to members for them to cope, and our cooperative also does palliatives in terms of cash and food items as well. That's how we've actually been surviving thus far.
Okay. Or you can join the conversation. We're live on Facebook, UNIUYO 100 to 7 FM, or you can call the studio lines 818-883 6262 or 07 All right, Ma, we have a question from Facebook, and I think from Comrade EEH. He says, please, Ma, I want to know how the school calendar is going to look like after the period, because with what is happening now, the school calendar is no longer full.
Well, just like all of our lives have been altered by the new normal, the tertiary education to the calendar would also be different and would also be impacted by the new normal. When you attend church, you give a space, use your nose mask and all of that.
Okay.
You know, that would also be observed here. That's why, if you've heard, ASUU is telling federal government, don't reopen universities until these things have been put in place. Otherwise, you'll be endangering the lives of students, staff, both non-teaching and teaching. You know, so my comrade, what's going to happen is that there is a new normal now, and it will affect everything.
It will affect the calendar of schools.
Everything.
All right, this is UNIUYO 107 FM. And we have the chairperson of Academic Staff Union of Universities, University of UNIUYO chapter, Dr. Duki in the house. And let me speak for students now, as students and parents are really confused. And some of the school of thought that ASUU is not interested in their future, because some of them have been at home for quite a number of months. We have seen other, sector. Talking about the religious, the aviation, almost all the sectors are back, but schools are down. And now Nigerian students don't really know what to do. Some are even asking if they should go learn a trade, or if they should just hang on when ASUU would finally call off their strike.
Well, it's not incumbent on ASUU to call off the strike only, but the action of government to determine when the strike will be suspended. Mark you, we rarely call off strikes, we suspend, because we'll have to carry them again. Someone was asking.
So it's a continuum.
Of course, insofar as we are all alive and we're dealing with government who are also humans, and human needs are not cannot be all met at once. You know, even when you go to the table, you certainly will not go back with everything you're demanding for.
Okay.
They will shift some grants, and government will also shift grants. And as you know, yearly and all of that, we keep having increases, inflation rate and all of that. So to say that strikes will end is not actually totally true, because you see the health sector, the resident doctors, they went on strike and then came back and went again. You know,
I think no, this one is the joint health workers.
No, NARD.
Okay.
National
They
Association.
went and have called up their strike, but the strike today is for the joint health workers.
Yeah, I know that, but the other issue was.
So the pending strike is.
Strike will continue. Strike will certainly continue. It will continue even in Britain. It goes on. There are strikes, some related with health, some with education. You know, so the point is this: let's just understand and talk to those we know in government. ASUU is not saying we're talking about salaries only. No way. We're talking about the good of the students. We're talking about they're having good halls to attend lectures, good hostels in which to stay. We're talking about making education comfortable and convenient. I feel very sad when I used to teach GST, and you find sometimes more than half the class stand, sometimes outside. And then I wonder, what would these children assimilate if they are learning under this kind of conditions? You know, so government needs to do something. We know somebody who knows somebody who is in Senate or House of Reps or House of Assembly or presidency. Let's push them and talk to them, rather than keep saying that ASUU, keep blackmailing ASUU. ASUU is actually largely working in the interest of students.
So what would be your advice to students and parents who are currently listening to us right now? What should they do? Because you have said that definitely you don't call off. You would
suspend.
Yes, you just suspend the strike to continue some other time. What would be your advice? Because apart from the global pandemic, talking about COVID-19, a lot of students have been at home, and some parents are even tired of students having them around.
They could learn something. You know that this pandemic, for instance, came, and it has made people to actually realized that they had certain talents within them. Some have become business tycoons, doing different kinds of things. They could learn a trade or do something.
Okay.
Because what we're saying is that things must be better in tertiary education. Otherwise, we will not achieve what we actually intend to achieve. You see, if you take a student here who maybe made third class, give the student in the UK where environment is conducive, that child could make it first class.
So why is it so, ma?
It's the environment. There's no power, no water. Everything is just hard and difficult. So we're saying that there are children they send outside. They should make this place comfortable for the children of the poor. ASUU is saying that tertiary institutions should not become like primary and secondary schools, nursery schools. Now
but those are the products that would
went to UNIUYO High School, but I'm not sure that I can send my child to UNIUYO High School. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's because these places are not being taken care. I didn't go to a private school. I even attended a primary school. But how many of us can send our children to primary schools? Because they've been destroyed, by these rich people who now run private institutions.
Okay.
That's the same thing they want to do to tertiary education. And ASUU is saying no.
Okay.
For instance, that's what stalled the renegotiation, because the
In 2019?
the chairman of the renegotiation team, who is the estranged Wale Babalakin of UNILAG.
He's also in the academy.
No, he's not.
Okay.
He's not. He's an SAN.
Okay.
He came and was talking about increasing school fees to 350, 400,000.
Yeah.
And ASUU said, no, you can't do that. The children of the poor still have to go to school. If you peg it at 350, 400, how many children of the poor will go to school? That's one reason for which we're talking about strike. Yet parents will blackmail us and students will shout.
Okay. All right, finally, let's look at ASUU. I've repeatedly asked the federal government not to open school because it's not served due to the pandemic, as you have rightly said, and the lack of infrastructure on public tertiary institution. What should students and parents do at this point? Because some are even tired of staying at home. And for some students who actually at the age of getting 30 or above, who thought they might have completed school before that age bracket where they can take part in the National Youth Service Scheme, actually not happy at the moment right now. You need to talk to them because they need to understand that ASUU might not just be doing this for them, but for the future.
Like you rightly said, that's what was on my mind. We're not doing this. We may not be doing this for the now only. We're doing this for the now and the after now. We've come to benefit a whole lot of things. When we talk about, you see structures, TED Fund. TED Fund is a brainchild of us.
Okay.
But for TED Fund, we would not even have some of the structures that we have on campus.
Okay.
So we actually, there's nothing good that comes easy. It usually will pinch. It will cause pains. It will cause discomfort. But let us be discomforted for now so that we can be comforted and comfortable in the after now. What is important is this. We equally have children who are in public universities and they're equally at home. What we're saying is for their good and the good of other people's children, let government do the needful. Public universities and public institutions are supposed to be taken care of by government. So let government do its bit. It's taking care of other things. Why not tertiary education? So sorry that you're at home and you stayed there for months. We are actually on this strike for our good.
Okay.
When I mean all of us, students, lecturers, etc.
Okay. All right, that's what we have to call it a wrap today on the special interview. We had Dr. Happiness Duke in our studios today, and she is the ASUU Chairperson of the University of UNIUYO. Thank you, Ma, for coming, and I hope that you still find time to come around to talk to us.
I sure will. Anytime you just have doubts, just call. I'm just a block away.
Okay.
Just call. I'll come and shed more light on it. And Nigerian students, and particularly students of University of UNIUYO, don't fight against us. Rather support us. Let's fight together. Remember, in those good old days, students used to support us. Students will hang around windows where ASUU members were having meetings, and they will agitate that things be done the way ASU says it should be done because it's in our interest. Let's hang on together for the betterment of tertiary education. Thank you, and have a blessed day.
All right, thank you, Ma. Thank you for listening. My name is Jimmy Jackson. Stay blessed and enjoy the rest of our broadcast on 100 to 7 FM.